Wow, I just want to say thank you all so much for making this possible. We have a presenting sponsor for this week's episode, and they pay by the like, so get those fingers clicking. This week's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp, Adam Edition. Depression can be a really tough thing to go through. Do you struggle with a fantasy team that has let you down? Maybe you spent $86 on CeeDee Lamb and Najee Harris like Eric. Maybe you've lost 2 straight by single digits like Brandy. Or maybe you signed up to host a podcast for a league while having the undisputed worst team in that league. Whatever your problems may be, getting roasted in the group chat will only make you spiral down to a dark place. Talking to someone can make things better. Connect with a licensed professional counselor, and Adam will give you tips on who you should drop from your awful team. Sign up for 100% off using our promo code GAMEON. That's GAMEON. Remember, Adam always knows best.
I'm Colin. Today is Saturday, September 24th, week 2.
We start in the battle for the North Atlantic as Taylor's boring American team takes on Brandy's Italian Villa. Pat Fryer Vermouth made his way into the starting lineup and produced, but Antonio Gibson pooped out one spicy meatball of 28 yards on 14 carries. Paris France Campbell proved that he was only a layover as he got lost in the terminal on his way to Zidane. Meanwhile, the boys back home showed Brandy how it's done as the most boring American names in the league. Mike Evans, Mike Williams, Mac Jones, Aaron Jones, Josh Jacobs carried Taylor to an all-American boring-ass victory. Taylor, 143. Brandy, 138.
It's a special battle of the co-hosts as first place Colin, aka me, takes on Michael, the body snatcher, St. Romain Corbett. Tyreek Hill proved to be the answer to life, the universe, and everything, scoring a perfect 42. Well, Carson Wentz reminded us, don't panic, after a slow start, and Jared Goff carried a towel and the team to a big W. Rashad, don't call me nickel penny, proved he's worthy of the name of the least valuable coinage, and King Henry pays his respects to the late queen by rushing for less than 2 yards per carry. 190, 134.
We move to the kinkiest matchup of the week, where we got things started with a drip of hot wax on Thursday night as BDS MVS dribbled 7 yards directly onto Fitzy's body. Yes, Jalen makes it hurt so good, but unfortunately, Naeem slapped my hiney and Kyle spit in my face were not the turn-on he had hoped for. On the other side, Mike opted for a pure vanilla love story, while starting milquetoast Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins at quarterback. He pulled up in his 67 Thunderbird beside a girl and catcalled, "Hey, I really Stephon Diggs ya gal. How about we head down to the Brees Dance Hall and rock for a while?" 5 years later, they were married with 3 Jahan daughters and sons. Looks like Mike's team is going steady, and Fitzy needs to settle down. Mike, 176, Fitzy, 111.
We're in the midst of a Chris Bull bonanza, but this one belonged in the toilet, as Chris Cloud eked out a squeaker of a win despite scoring a paltry 124 points. Matt Ryan took a gigantic dump on the field while Jameis Winston sharded his drawers due to having a broken back. Donovan Pooples Jones gave Chris Cloud a big turd, while Kenneth Gainwell contributed a fat deuce. Luckily, Josh Allen and Mark Andrews were there to wipe up everyone's messy booties, and he was able to pull out the W against Chris Colby's putrid lineup of single-digit scorers. 124, 115.
We move to Eric versus Chris Patino, who had some dirty laundry to attend to. T-shirt Higgins started things off for Eric with a supple TD support, but Najee Harris was looking uncomfortable and informal as a top 10 pick. Unfortunately, Dawson Socks and Darnell Shooney were leaving Eric's toes a little cold for comfort. Chris's squad needed a tied-to-go pen for one of their own, as Eastreakiel Elliott left a long brown mark that needed washing. Tua Tag of Iloa was looking brand new out there, and the Salvation Army pickup of the week, Shirta Samuel, helped propel Chris Tata Load of Laundry to victory. Chris, 180. Eric, 159.
It was a battle in the deli as former Big Y homies Adam and Cash faced off in a bid to acquire a perfect 2-0 start. Cooper Kupp kept the meat slicing razor thin, but it wasn't enough to counter the rancid meat rotting in the dumpster, as Saquon Jefferson and both starting quarterbacks caused a customer to ask to speak to Tyler's manager about his attitude. Lamar Jackson and Jalen Waddle went ham for Adam, scoring more than 40 points each. That was enough to carry him to a dub and a positive customer review. 164, 122. Hello, and welcome all to the Why Do Boys Make Podcasts podcast, the official partner podcast of the Why Do Boys Play Games Fantasy Football League. I'm Colin Swords, your host for this evening, and I'm joined by the Sultan of Stats, the Shah of Seltzer, Sean Fitzgerald. Sean, how are you holding up?
Colin, I'm glad you phrased it like that. Not so good is what I'll say. We talked a little bit in the pre-roll here about, people overreacting. Well, count me in. I'm overreacting to my team, and it's not looking too good.
Talk to me for a second here. Just like what's the concern? Just like do you have a plan going forward?
I think I listened back to
Is there a fire sale? Do you want to advertise a fire sale?
No, because then everyone's going to be sending me trade offers. I think I listened to last week's pod. You could start to hear the mental armor cracking just a little bit for me in my voice when I said things like, "Colin, obviously I have no clue what's going on in the draft. Have you seen my team?" I want to reiterate that this week. Every matchup I break down here, I will be careful not to throw stones because my glass house has thin walls, Colin. So I'm going to try to be nice to people today.
That's a great attitude. Very emotionally intelligent. Now, I know you're having some struggles, but there's got to be players, or at least a player on your team who you're excited about or happy about. Do you have any favorite player on your team so far?
Colin, it's my favorite player from last year. I kept him on the team this year. You can call him the worst pick that I made. He's the only good pick I made, and that's Jalen Hurts. He's so much fun. I wasn't even watching that Monday night game. I was watching the Bills game, and they cut away to all these big throws he's got. He's got a 30-yard rushing touchdown. He's unbelievable. He's my favorite by a mile. How about you?
Yeah, I can admit when I'm wrong. I wasn't high on Jalen Hurts, really. I think people were way too high. And again, we're only 2 weeks in. He's thrown one touchdown in 2 games. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He does have a lot of yards, but it doesn't matter. He runs for touchdowns. He runs for yards. He passes. Now he's passing 275 yards a game. But for me, you have someone who their favorite fantasy player, and maybe I'm just contrarian, but it's never going to be a guy like, Tyreek Hill or Jamar Chase. You know who my favorite player this year so far? Gabe Davis went down, and you know who filled in great for me? It's Jacoby Myers. Yeah. Why was everyone sleeping on this guy? Why was he a $1 player? He averaged, I think, maybe 12 a game last year or something. He doesn't score touchdowns. That's okay. He's steady as a rock.
He's 95. Yeah.
Yeah, no thought flex. Just put him in. You don't have to think about it. Just put him in. You don't have to think about it. Great having him on my bench. I just love the guys who are just there and they're low expectations. All they can do is surprise you. I think he's a Hunter Renfrow, such a high floor,
I want to just say, for the listener's sake, we all heard you about to say those guys who are rock hard. You caught it in your throat, but I gotta call it out. Jacoby Myers, rock hard for Colin.
Rock hard for Jacoby Myers. And speaking of these high floor players, we think of running backs as being pretty high floor because they're just going to get, a receiver can have a bunch of off games where he's just not targeted, but teams are usually going to try to establish a run. And yet this year, it seems like running backs are just complete doggy doo-doo. Every year, it feels like the established meta is go running back early, scarcity of position. You can get tons of wide receivers later. just take a flyer tight end. There's tons of quarterbacks. Might not be so true in a 2-quarterback league, but it seems like that's shifting a bit. The wide receivers are scoring so many points. Those top running backs aren't scoring enough points more than the dead zone guys. You got, McCaffrey and Montgomery right next to each other. Do you have any thoughts about this, Fitzy? I just wanted to pontificate about it a bit.
Yeah, I do find it interesting that, of course, the top receivers are paying dividends. But I also think that the mid-round receivers are better than the mid-round running backs. To your point, the shifting of the meta is just don't draft running backs at all because they're all bad. I mean, I don't know of too many that are really high up on the list and paying off that first round draft capital, right? Certainly not the single digit duds on my team, but maybe your team has something similar to that in Cordero Patterson, right?
Yeah, I mean, Cordell, he had a tough week last week, but, he's a 20-pointer the week before, so I've got nothing bad to say about Cordero. We'll see. I mean, it's 2 weeks in the season. These guys, some of them are going to pick it up. I am a fan of buying low on all these guys right now. So if anyone wants to trade me their crappy running back, send me some offers. So enough about that. Let's go straight to the mailbag. We got some comments in our last YouTube video. We appreciate the feedback, everybody. Keep them coming. Michael asks, he says, "Great episode, fellas. Thanks, Mike. Question for both of you. What are your two most memorable fantasy matchups, as in a matchup your team was in? A happy matchup memory and a bad matchup." Fitzy, you want the good one or the bad one first?
Ooh, well, it depends. Are you going to tell me or are you going to ask me for it?
Give me the bad one.
Okay.
Let's do our bad ones first, then we'll do a good one.
So this one's been talked about to no end. It's a different league. I'll say nothing but good memories in this league. Even the things that hurt in this league, that they just add to the overall meta and the lore of the league, right? To me, the worst fantasy matchup I've had is round one of the playoffs, 2 tight end league. Colin, you already know the answer. It's Clive Gate. Let me explain the rules of this particular league for those that don't know. There's 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs. It's the Noah's Ark League, 2 of every position, right? 2 tight ends included. And one interesting rule is that you cannot add any player after 1 p.m. on Sunday. One person who did not know that a couple of years back was yours truly. I wasn't sure if I wanted to start Clive. What was his last name even?
Was it Walford? I don't
Clive
know.
Walford. Clive Walford, like second tight end for the Raiders or another second tight end for some other team. I said, you know what? I'm going to make that call Sunday night. If I even need to make the addition, I'll do it. And I decided Sunday night I do need Clive. I ended up losing that matchup by less than 2.7 points. I know 2.7 because that's how much Clive Walford put up. I would have won the matchup if I could have added this stupid tight end, and I didn't, and I was so mad about it for obviously years later. Colin, how about you?
Maybe it's just recency bias, but I feel like I had a good team last year, and I really came roaring in. And of course, I had to go against Taylor's team in the first round of the playoffs.
Mm.
And I ended up putting up, 114 or whatever, a terrible, awful score for a playoff team. And in a similar vein, although I guess this was more my fault, yours was kind of just not totally fair, but I put David Njoku over Amir Abdullah. It'll haunt me till the end of my days. But just like you said, I remember you've told me that you did the math and you wouldn't have won the championship or anything either. I know that I wouldn't have either. I wasn't going to beat you, so I don't know what the matchups after that would have looked like, but that one definitely left a sour taste in my mouth. But in terms of good ones, I remember the year I came in second. I had a Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown stack. This was probably like 2015 or something. I don't know. I came in second to Corby, and in it was either early in the playoffs or one of the last weeks of the year that I needed to make playoffs. I was down like 60 going into either a Sunday night or a Monday game. It was late.
Monday or Sunday Night Miracles.
Right. I was playing Mike's dad. I was playing Mike Sr., and I was beating his ass. And then David Johnson, I don't know if you remember this week. This was his rookie year, I'm pretty sure. He put up literally 57 or something ridiculous. And I was like, oh, I lost. I can't beat that. And then of course, I'm down 60 or something. Antonio Brown and Big Ben. It was probably more than 60 because 60 isn't that crazy from the two of them. It was probably 70 or 80 or something. But I remember I was sitting at Mariah's house and I was checking my phone every now and again. And I was like, oh my God. Super excited. When you remember where you are, that's how you know it really made an impact on you. So I was really excited. Too bad it didn't shake out well for them, but it didn't shake out well for my team either. Second place is nice, but Fitzy, you got a good one?
I mean,
Was it last year?
like it's last year. It's last year's championship because
Or just the whole
I'm
playoffs in general?
no, just
Stomping on everybody?
for me, it's the championship. Yeah,
Yeah.
like beating down Corby, a co-host. I mean, everything around it. It's not just about the beatdown; it's about the lore, right? I mean, for Silverwatch to come out right before this matchup, and then for me to get the victory over Taylor, who still put up 180. Like I didn't feel bad about it, which is something I do sometimes if I'm being, but like everything about this was fun. Um, so it's recency. I said last week that Taylor had spent all of his fantasy karma. I got to look in the mirror. I think I used all my fantasy karma last year. I think I'm paying in this year. I think that's
That's
what's going on.
true. Middle of the year, you were very mediocre, and then you just finished like on fire. I guess you did it somehow. And now, yeah, you're paying for it now, I guess. Mike also had this to say. Also, like Colin mentioned, Fitzy, you can't just say this is my year and bet against me each week. I see through your lies.
Mike, I'll respond to you here. I'm not going to take the bait. I'm not going to get angry, right? I pick each game as I see them, and I pick the year as I see it. Mike, I still think your team's going to the playoffs. I still think it's your year.
If
Talk
anything,
to
it's
you
a
later.
compliment. It's a
Yeah,
compliment because you're saying that his team's going to peak late. He's going to go 0-2, you thought, and he's going to peak late like you and smash through the playoffs.
Mike, you might win every game for the rest of the year. I got to look at this week's matchups to make sure, but it could happen. Next up, we have Adam Bergeron, who chimes in with,
"There is a man on the outskirts holding within him the secrets you seek. His eyes glow demonic and contain a presence, one which reeks of familiarity. The being that is within him will escape one day soon, and the league will feel the aftershock." And Tommy trembles. "I think we all need help, and if we do not get it, there could be sinister consequences for the league that we cannot comprehend. 1,000 little doves explode from the earth, their little bodies flayed and shining, a sign of what is to come. If we do not stop the man with the glowing eyes, we will be subjected to all he is capable of. We need help. 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 We need help."
Thanks, Adam. Chris Colby also commented, "The Crisp Bowl this week was definitely of the toilet variety. So glad you guys are back, though. My question for the hosts is, if you were to play in the NFL, what position would you play, and what current or former player would you compare yourself to?"
Well, I'll start, Colin, because obviously I've played a little bit of tackle football in my day, youth football, 7th and 8th grade, famously tight end and middle linebacker. I think I'd go with tight end personally. I'd be that big body receiver you need. Of course, big body at 6 foot even might not translate so well, but catch me on that back shoulder fade. I think I'd be honestly a little bit of a current player like a Dalton Schultz, but going to the past, maybe more of a Jack Doyle, somebody who you can trust to move the sticks on third down. How about you, Colin?
You'd be a Mr. Money.
That's exactly right. I'd find the soft spot in the zone every time. Cerebral player.
It's tough for me. I played flag football with Mike. We won the championship. And I played a lot of quarterback, and I played a lot of receiver. Mostly because of my height, I guess.
Also, what other positions are there in flag football?
That's true.
Colin played O-line in flag football.
I was a fallback. Well, all I know is I threw the ball a lot and I caught the ball a lot. But if I guess the boring answer is quarterback, but I don't know what else to say. What former player would I compare myself to? Who's a lefty?
Tua.
Oh, he said current or former. Yeah, but am I really? I feel like I had a cannon arm back then. Mike would attest to that. Maybe but then I think of the cannon arm lefties, and it's like, I don't even know that many lefties. Mike Vick had a good arm, but I wasn't fast. Maybe Steve Young. He had probably had a good arm, right?
He was also fast.
Well, he was a good runner, but I don't think he was really fast. I don't know. We weren't around really. But I'll say Steve Young. The Storm and Mormon.
There we go. There we go. Now, Chris, got to give you a shout out because when you go to comment, you comment hard. 2 other comments left back to back on our first 2 videos. First one, I'm late to it, but your favorite comment boy is back, baby. And rank 1, baby. It's a great time to be on Colby Island. Way to set the stage for your team name. Really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, like the foreshadowing, or maybe this was before or after. I don't know where it was, but it's great. You found a theme and you've committed to it. So that's the mailbag for today. So let's just take a quick look at last week's matchups.
We start with the Chris Bowl of the week. This was our second Chris Bowl in a row, and the projections were close at 158 to 155. Final score also close, 124 to 115, as Chris Cloud takes it over Colby Island.
Yeah, this was an embarrassing one. I don't even know what to say. Chris Colby had almost his entire team in single digits, and Chris Cloud was pretty much just carried by Mark Andrews and Josh Allen.
I thought for sure on Red Zone at 1 p.m. when I sat down, I was so pumped. It was my first time seeing the 1 p.m. kickoff this year because I didn't get to see it the first week. And I'm like, Scott, show me the Octobox. I need that so bad. Show me the Octobox. And for some reason, they're just showing Miami kicking off to Baltimore. I'm like, is this a timing issue? And then as Devin Duvernay starts to run, I think, oh, Scott knows something that we don't. And Devin Duvernay returns it over 100 yards for a return touchdown to start the day off in order to beat this projection. This guy is a Yahoo Fantasy legend. I'm so glad Devin Duvernay is still in the starting lineup. I cannot believe that happened. And he's like basically he's your 3rd highest scoring player after getting only 42 receiving yards left other than that on the day. I mean, it really comes down to Chris Cloud having Mark Andrews doing normal Mark Andrews stuff, right? 25 out of the tight end position is pretty great.
Yeah, in a year, I mean, it's 2 games, but it's just another poopy tight end year, and you're gonna want a non-pooper. And Mark Andrews is non-poopy as it gets. Devin Duvernay's the 32nd ranked player right now in terms of points. He's got 6 targets on the year. Can he keep up this hyper efficiency? Only time will tell. Who knows? Next up, we have Chris Patnode and Eric. We had a big dub from Chris Patnode. Now, this is a matchup that's more deserving of a breakdown. Look at these high-scoring guys.
Oh, yeah.
Eric really could have used a win here after starting off 0-1 and having a terrible week 1, but just wasn't meant to be. I took Eric to win, and the coin and Fitzy took Chris Patnode, so congratulations to them. Fitzy, any thoughts about this one?
I mean, yeah, Eric's team being kind of consistent down the board. Not too many single digits, but not a lot of boomers. Amon-Ra St. Brown being the big exception. Almost got it done, but then Tua throwing for 6 touchdowns and 469 passing yards for Chris P. I mean, if you told me that Tua and Trey Lance were going to combine for 44 points, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's doable. I didn't think Trey Lance was going to score 2 of them, though. That's fantastic work.
Yeah, that game was absolutely insane between Tua, Waddle, and Hill scoring. It is interesting because since Jimmy G is rostered, Chris is going to be starting, not to get ahead of ourselves, he's going to be starting Jacoby Brissett from here on out, which is the only other quarterback.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing he got this win because he's going to need all the, he's going to need the head start.
My last note here is it's sad that he says farewell to Trey Lance, and he could have had a 200 burger on the way out. DJ Chark putting up 0 points, while Amari Cooper put up 25 on the bench, when that's pretty clearly the next guy in. And DJ Chark, I think, is the obvious next guy out. So could have had the 200, could have really savored it. Still get the win. So going to celebrate there. Next matchup up, we've got Adam taking on Tyler. Adam gets the dub. And believe it or not, everyone, coin included, were on the right side of history here with Adam. We had 2 big booms out of Lamar and Jalen Waddle, kind of covering up for not exactly duds, but a few flex issues, we'll say.
I didn't know that Adam played Taysom Hill. That is flex.
The ultimate flex.
No, I'm guessing that he thought because of Jameis Winston's broken back that Taysom Hill might get some run at quarterback, which I guess makes sense rationale, but it's just funny looking at his I feel like Adam's the classic stars and studs guy, and it's not like Waddle was really a stud to start the year. He was a stud this game, but it's just funny looking at this lineup because it's a classic Adam lineup where two guys get up a 40, and then you get a few teen guys, and then just like a dearth of single digit boys.
I want to just name one stat here for Tyler. Tyler, typically the stars and scrubs type of team, right? Colin, do you see who the second highest scorer is on Tyler's team right now?
It's the
After
flying.
Cooper Cup.
It's the Flying Dorchman.
He's dorching defenders all over the field.
It's the Dorch oven. You see, he's thinking up the opponent.
The human dorch. Yeah, I love it.
The human torch. I love it.
Keep him in the lineup, and I'm sure your fantasy fortunes will improve, Tyler.
Yeah, that's a tough one from Tyler, but I think the bigger problem was these quarterbacks. Jeez, he lost someone? Why did he say he was buying a quarterback? Oh, Prescott. Yeah, he has Prescott and Rush. So just a motley crew of quarterbacks there, and that's tough.
Speaking of tough, let's move on to our next matchup, Colin, where I took on Mike. You and the coin took Mike. I disagreed. I thought I was going to win and take 9th place. I'm instead in 12th. And it really hurts. I'd love to make a Jalen Hurts pun, but he's the only shining star on the team. We've got Terry McLaurin barely peeking over, and Jeff Wilson, unbelievably, we were talking last week about how he's not that good. He's not that good. Still the second highest scorer on my team last week at 12.3. Just due to up and down the board. Really nothing else to say other than congratulations, Mike.
Well, it was an off week for a lot of these guys, but also a lot of these guys I would not start. So, yeah, they're just stinky. As you put it, they're out of this world, as in they shouldn't be starting in this league. Shout out to Jeff Wilson for being the only player besides Hurts to outplay his projection. Everyone else fell short. And then Mike, we saw what happened on Monday. I mean, he was going to win anyway, but good for you. Stephon Diggs, another one of those receivers who's living up to his draft capital. Next up, we got Taylor and Brandy. The battle of that was a karmic imbalance battle. And the fantasy gods proved that in the end, chaos reigns supreme. I don't believe in fantasy karma. It's just random. As Taylor takes the W, I will say this. It's another tragic loss for Brandy as she starts Paris Campbell with the big 0. And then you look at the bench.
Yeah.
You look at the bench, and she could have plugged in Corey Davis, and even maybe have moved one of her flexes over and put Ish Smith in the flex. I mean, who would have done that? Probably nobody. But
obviously, you wouldn't do that, right? Obviously, you wouldn't.
Just playing, yeah.
But if you had, we can make the case that this is the second week in a row that Brandy could have won if she had just started the second tight end. The second week in a row where we've got a tight end winner on the bench, and that is painful.
That's tough. So, and then Taylor had Aaron Jones in his revenge game, shutting up the haters. Kyler, who was taking a huge dump to start the game. I've caught Kyler in like 4 leagues. It was hard to look at, and then at the end he just turned it up. So many crazy games on Sunday, huh?
Oh man, my real note for Taylor's team is just the fact that it kind of looks like it's, I don't want to say stuck in the past, but you look at these names like Aaron Jones, Rex Burkhead. On the bench, he's got Josh Gordon, Julio Jones, even Jerick McKinnon is a bit like Jarvis Landry. All these guys are like 5 years ago. I'm pumped to have them on my team. This year, I think I might be pumped to have them on my team, but that's really not saying a whole lot.
It's very true.
And then the final matchup here, I'll turn it over to you, Colin, for your well-deserved victory lap as you get the victory over Corby. Colin and the coin were both on Colin. I took Corby. I thought he could get it done with the Super Meat Man team name bump, but Waka Flacco Flame gets it done.
Yeah, if you ever read the recap, Yahoo gives you that little recap after every week. I said, if I played every team in the league every week, I'd be 22-0. I've got the top score 2 weeks in a row. And you should think, oh, I'm so happy about it. Well, I'm not. Because I want to peak late. I hate peaking early. It's nice though. It's good. Yes, I have a good team. I'm really surprised, happily by it. It's nice. You might think, oh, it's your receivers keeping you aloft. No, it's really. I mean, that they're kind of doing their thing. What should be expected? Yeah, Tyreek Hill blew up, but he was just picking up for Chase and Pittman, who was out, and Gabe Davis. Like, this is what I drafted them for. The real surprise, the real reason I'm doing well is because the quarterbacks. I don't know what's going on. Mostly Wentz. I mean, Goff did okay last week, but he blew up this week. Flacco's on the bench doing things. Davis Mills still sucks, though. But shout out to my quarterbacks. And I can't forget you, Evan Ingram, who's just holding down that tight end position. I think he's in the top 12 this year, so I'm going to call him my tight end one. Outscoring Kelsey on the other side. I was afraid early, I think Sunday, with the Chargers game. Or no, that was Thursday, right? Because at the last minutes of the game, Herbert threw a touchdown pass to Joshua Palmer. Corby starting that stack. I was like, this is it. This is my downfall. But then what happened? Rashad Penny just proved he was worthy of his name. He's worthy of the least valuable coinage. Brandon Cooks had Davis Mills throwing, meatballs to him. And he was holding oven mitts. Can't catch meatballs with oven mitts, and Derrick Henry it was a tragic week. I don't think Corby has a bad team, but he had a terrible week.
Yeah, agreed. Corby's team with Derrick Henry and Cortland Sutton, both with the up arrows, right? Gotta not feel too bad about this one. I'm glad you mentioned Rashad Penny. Can you believe that Miles Sanders was the top scoring running back in this matchup? He was the only one with double digits. I mean, we had Derrick Henry on the other side, AJ Dillon. Like, even Rashad Penny, you'd expect to get close to 10, but yeah, he's the only one in double digits. So our point earlier that all the running backs are doo-doo is kind of holding true.
Oh, I was going to say, and that's including the bench, but it looks like J.D. McKissick. He's just holding it down with a 13.3. So that's these matchup. So this week I went 4-2 with the picks. I'm 8-4 on the year. Fitzy went 3-3, 7-5, and the coin. He went 6-0. A perfect record for the coin after going 2-4 last week. So now it's 8-4 as well. Fitzy, we're both 8-4. Me and the coin. You're 7-5. How's it feel?
Well, I'll tell you what. I wasn't expecting to be last place on two different leaderboards today, but at least this one I can make a comeback on. I've got some fire takes for later on. But first, I want to open up the fireside chat. And this week, we're sticking with football because I'm facing the critics in an impromptu press conference.
Fitzy, Mike Box here of the Boken UX Weekly Review. In back-to-back years now you doubted me going into our matchup, and you ended up having the biggest blowout loss that week. Is it time to believe in me?
All right, listen here, Mike. I had a down week. My squad is in shambles, but don't come at me with stats. I'm keeping the receipts. The last two times we faced each other, week 6 of the 2021 and 2020 seasons, you're right, there was a blowout. Last year, I beat you 165-98, and the year before, 164-111. These were indeed the biggest blowouts of the week, just not the way you remember. Find a new slant, buddy.
Hi Fitzy, Adam Ballar-Jaron of the Adam Times. Adam is 2-0 after finishing in last place 3 consecutive seasons. Can he keep it up?
I'm sorry, I'll calm down, but what does that have to do with me? Adam can do whatever he sets his mind to. He's a great competitor and a great winning manager.
A follow-up question, why does Colin always have to make it about him?
Hey, it's Colin here. I like to think, or maybe this is just my narcissistic, tendency, that all of us have a bit of a narcissism inside of us. We live in a society that really kind of values individualism over collectivism, and I guess that I'm just drawn to that trap. We all celebrate ourselves. I don't know how to talk to people. I have got my own issues, everyone's always coming at me. I guess when no one else makes it about me, I guess I have to. So next question, please.
Hi Fitzy, Corby of the Corbett Post. Who's the better co-host, me or Colin?
I really like this question. I can't pick a favorite child, much less a favorite co-host. That said, if I'm being completely honest, which I believe is a value that each of us should hold true, being honest to myself, I have to give a slight edge to the coin here.
Coach Fluff, a question for you. What is the best burger at Red Robin?
I've tried a lot of burgers at Red Robin. This is Coach Fluff here, by the way. I tried that one that's got like pineapple on it. I think it's teriyaki chicken. That's pretty good. Is it a burger if it is chicken or no? Is that chicken sandwich? What's the rules? What's a burger?
What's a burger?
Does it have to have hamburger?
They can have veggie burgers. I think you can have non-hamburgers, right? It just says what's the best burger.
Yeah. Well, I like the Royal Red Robin. It's got a lot of protein. There's an egg on it.
Finally, a question for both of you. What's the hardest Xbox 360 achievement you've ever gotten?
So for me, again, fantastic question. Thank you for getting to the real hard-hitting stuff. For me, I could take this a couple of ways. I like the collection achievements that are done without a guide. And Assassin's Creed 1 with all those stupid flags, that was probably literally like the hardest.
You did that without a guide?
I had to find one more flag that was really terrible. Like truly not something I thought I would even bring up on the pod because it's equally embarrassing. I'm gonna say frequent flyer from Superman Returns was an achievement that went pretty hard. When I used a rubber band to keep Superman flying all night long, needed to get 10,000 miles of Superman flying. But the real answer here is I think a pretty common one, and that's going to be the Bladder of Steel Award from Rock Band 2. It was a joy and a test of endurance to achieve it.
I'm definitely a quantity over quality kind of guy. I don't think I have a lot of very hard achievements, but I sure have a lot of achievements. In terms of hard ones, the hardest one that I can remember, like pure difficult, is the thing about is when you play RPGs a lot is like if you load into a level that does autosave and you can't beat it. I'm talking about Mass Effect 2. Like there's nothing you can do. You can't go back if you don't have an earlier save. Like what I mean is like if you go into I was on the hardest difficulty, and then it's when there's a derelict Reaper ship. Maybe you play this game. And I remember there's like a level with rotating platforms, and like it's hard to stay in cover because they're rotating around you, and so they're coming behind you. And like, I was like in high school. I didn't know what I was doing. Being in high school, you suck at video games.
Yeah, obviously, right.
I don't know. I was really frustrated. I didn't have a good build, was what I'm getting at. And there's nothing you can do. You can't like respec now. You'd have to start over the whole game. This is like halfway through the game, so like I just had to go through it. It was honestly so hard. I remember I went to the Mass Effect forums. That's how much of a tough time I was having. And I was like, has anyone done this? How do you do this? With my crappy adept build. So yeah, that one was tough. And then the other one, there's a game called Assassin's Creed 2 Brotherhood, and there was an achievement called Role Model.
I wrote this one down, you piece of shit.
It was for getting all the co-op bonuses in a match.
What you achieve as a team, right? When you achieve a co-op bonus, the other person achieves it. That's just how it works, right?
And still, like, there's stuff you got to do, and some of it was really hard. Fitzy can attest, only like true Assassin's Creed lovers could achieve this achievement. The achievement, it was stuff like stunning, because I don't remember the game exactly, but you couldn't always kill people. Or chasing a guy into your teammate to kill or something. So it was impossible. It's almost impossible for two teammates to like get them all in the same match. We tried to farm it for Fitzy. We did farm it for me. But I mean, it was very difficult. So I can't imagine many people have that achievement. So those are the two big ones for me.
Yeah.
So thanks, Fitzy. Thanks after all these years. Thank you you're my role model.
I'm really glad you wrote that one down, Colin. My first note was, Colin, the answer is role model, right? So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Oh, man. Corby, do you remember when you got the Bladder of Steel achievements?
What an epic gamer moment.
So that's Fitzy's fireside chats. Thanks, Fitzy, for the fireside chat. Usually this would be the transaction watches. For one thing, this is before Wednesday, so we don't know the waivers they're going through. And even if there were, the big guys this week would be like Jimmy G and Garrett Wilson. They're already rostered. Who's going to be picked up this week? Daryl Williams, maybe? Fitzy, are you going all out for Daryl Williams? You need some guys.
Yeah, maybe.
So instead, let's just what transactions were made. Taylor picked up Josh Gordon. That was fun. I think he got a target.
He did.
He got a target. Didn't do anything. Titans could have used him. It was a tough game. I do want to talk. Maybe this is just me talking, and like my desperation and frustration. I've been sending out a lot of trades, and people don't want to trade with me. Maybe my trades aren't very good. Send me a counter. Just send me a counter. It can be bad too. That's fine. That's how you get a conversation started. I just feel like we're in the midst of a trade drought. I love to see trades. We had those trades early in the year, and I feel like we clowned on Chris too hard, and now everyone's like afraid to get clowned on. I feel like that's always what happens. It's like there's a bad trade, and everyone talks about it, and then people are just afraid to trade. It's fine. I don't know. I shouldn't want to trade anyway. My team's fine, but I'm just addicted to trading. Any thoughts, Fitzy? Or am I just going on a rant? Is that my fireside chat?
That's a good fireside chat there, Colin. Don't be afraid to make a trade if you have people that are worth a trade. I think, Colin, we tried to make a trade a couple of times, and we looked at my roster, and you're like, I don't know. Actually, I don't think we can. So,
Well, let me ask you something though. Let's say Garrett Wilson and Jimmy G, just hypothetically, were free agents. What do you think they would go for?
I'm not the right person to ask. I still believe that Garrett Wilson, like he had a great week this week, and next week it could be Elijah Moore. I think I'm crazy enough to believe that the Jets have plenty of receiver talent between the three receivers. Obviously, Mike believes in Conk as a fourth, and then the running backs are going to get targeted too. And they're not going to throw 60 times every week. You're
They
making that
might.
face. Yeah.
They look like they are.
As long as Flacco's under center, they probably will. But starting week 4, they'll
Oh,
dial it back for Zach,
no,
I believe.
absolutely, yes. What about Jimmy G though? Would you, if you were in need of a quarterback?
If I did not have a backup quarterback, Jimmy G is one of those guys that it's not a doubt he just is going to be a starter the rest of the year.
Right.
That's very valuable.
So that's got to be. It would probably be what? What would you say? 45 over under.
I'd probably take the under, but if you're truly desperate at quarterback, like if like you were saying, you've got Jacoby Brissett as now going to be a starter, you'd be pretty darn close to that 45. So
Yeah.
I think you picked a pretty decent number. I'd probably put the over under more like 35, but yeah, I'd be wrong.
Right. Well, congrats to Eric who just had him on his roster.
Yeah, seriously. I got
He-
that note coming up.
Yeah, you could use a break. All right, Fitzy, it's your favorite segment coming up. We're talking about name changes. What do we got this week, Fitzy?
Yeah, thanks for queuing it up, Colin. We had a couple. I'm going to start off with my personal favorite of the week, and that is Chris Colby coming up with Colby Island. Anything that is purely original, just decided to come up with a team name out of nowhere. Drew that little picture of him on an island in Otis with the Corona in the foreground. I mean, that's originality multiplied by originality right there. So a great reference. Colin, your thoughts?
I'm going to take this moment to make this about me because personally, I declared myself that I was on Colby Island last episode when you guys picked, who did he play? Chris Cloud, right? You guys picked Chris Cloud, and I alone was on Colby Island going with Chris Colby. You let me down, Chris. That's okay. You made up for it by changing your name, and you have a great picture, so I like it a lot. Speaking of things I like a lot, Fitzy, tell me about the evolution of your team's names have been going through.
Yeah, so thanks for queuing that up. I'm going to give myself a preemptive 1 out of 10 for these because it did not come to fruition. It's one of those you make a bet on yourself, right? I wanted to create a narrative around my team that I was getting better. I started off 11th in the power rankings. I was ranked 10th after week 1, and I was facing Mike, who was ranked 9th at the time. There's a whole narrative being built. That's when I named myself Steady Growth. I was a little preemptive on the word steady. We are renamed now to Market Crash. We are rock bottom. I almost went with the name Black Tuesday, but then I would have had to rename my team every couple of days. Like it's now at the time of recording, it's Black Tuesday, but when the pod drops, it'll be Black Saturday. Every day is dark on this team right now. So Market Crash is a more steady name there. And then Mike. I love that Mike is consistently the most active with his team names. And right now he's going through the meet whoever he's playing against and one up their team name. So he went against Steady Growth. He became Stunted Growth. He's playing against Chris Colby on Colby Island. His team name, the Annexation of Colby Island. I mean, just continuing to bring it, Mike. Always can count on you for that.
Yeah, if you're not gonna do a pun like my name, my next favorite is definitely when you make a counter to your opponent. It causes upkeep, like you need to change it every week. But I think the returns are worth it. You're gonna anger your opponent, you're gonna get them tilting. They're gonna make some crazy lineup decisions, probably, right? It's the meta. I love when people play the meta of fantasy football, a game within the game.
Yep.
That'll bring us to this week's matchups. Fitzy, first matchup, we're going to talk about you against Cash. What are your thoughts?
Colin, this one's pretty easy. If my team is playing against someone, that team is at an immediate, measurable advantage. I currently have benched most of my players, and I don't know who's going to start. We're basically looking to start practice squad players at this point. Tyler, you've got that advantage this week. I'm picking him.
Yeah, not much to say. I feel like a lot has been said about your team, so there's no point in knocking it on further. You had a tough start. It looks like you might be staring down the barrel of 0-3. I'll be taking Tyler. And don't worry, we haven't forgotten to introduce our longtime co-host, the Coin.
The coin is rolling with Fitzy this week.
Let's go.
And co-host once again, reintroducing Michael Corbett. What do you think of this matchup?
Oh, hey. I didn't see you there. Buenasera. From the Amalfi Coast, it's your co-host, Corby. And welcome to Corby's Coast. Today, we'll be talking about the matchup breakdown. In this matchup, we've got the Market Crash versus Tyler. I don't have to speak for anything. We all know Fitzy's team sucks, so I'm going with Tyler here.
All right. Thanks, Corby. Our next matchup is Mike versus Chris Colby, and my notes here. I really, and I mean it, really do believe that this is Mike's year. But Chris Colby has the inspired new team name bump, and I think Devin Duvernay is going to get him the dub here. So give me Chris Colby this week.
That's an interesting pick, Fitzy. I can see the rationale, having ranked Chris Colby first. But Mike's team just has a fire, and it's insatiable. Mike Thomas is back. Stephon Diggs, he's back too. Brees Hall's out there catching passes. Conk is looking like he's wearing the purple jersey just like last year. James Robinson, Achilles what? I'm going with Mike.
Next, over to Corby.
We've got the Battle of the Cousins. One of my favorite matchups every year, twice a year. Love this matchup. Let me just look really quick. Honestly, Mike, love your team. Chris Colby, fuck you. You suck. I'm coming for your stupid ass. Give me Mike.
And the coin is rounding us off with Chris Colby.
The next matchup we got looking up, it's Adam and Brandy. I feel like this is every year, or at least last year too. This is a battle of the tragedies. Adam had a tragic team last year. I think he had a pretty good high-scoring team that just kept on losing. And Brandy always finds new ways to lose. It's amazing every week. We always a new trick up their sleeve. It's looking bad right now in terms of projections, but if Kamara plays, Brandy has a real shot to win this one. That being said, with Waddle's emergence, Keenan Allen's coming back, Pollard too. I mean, Adam's team is actually Garrett Wilson also. I can't pick against Adam's team, who I think is a real powerhouse. I think he's a top 2-3 team in this league. I hate to say it, but I think Adam has a good team. What do you think, Fitzy?
It takes a lot of strength for you to say that, I know, Colin. You talk about how you and Eric are the Larry Bird and Magic Johnson of the league. Well, I don't know. Adam just might be the Pistons to you. You know, he's a dirty player. You love to fight him. The true rival for you.
He's the Dr. J to my Larry Bird.
There we go. And I got to say, looking at the matchup here, Adam has two great quarterbacks. Brandy's got a couple of good ones. Adam has a couple of great wide receivers in Waddle and Keenan Allen, and Brandy has a couple of pretty good ones. I like Brandy's flex over Adams, so to me, it really comes down to one position, the tight end. I'm picking Brandy for the third week in a row. Let's roll.
Hopefully, Brandy can start the right one.
We'll kick it over to co-host Corby from Italy.
This matchup is close to my heart. On one hand, I've got my wife. My other hand, my good friend Adam. With this, I'll go with my other hand. Brandy, 0-3. Let's go with Adam.
Wow, an interesting pick there, Corby. The coin believes in your wife, and they're taking Brandy. Next matchup here, Eric taking on you, Corby. Why don't you start things off?
It won't be close. Gonna smoke Eric. It's not gonna be hard, I guess.
Interesting. So to me, Eric's team just keeps getting better. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown and T. Higgins on the up and up. Jimmy G as that sneaky little stash, that's paid off. So his team's improving, but Corby's team just has that honeymoon glow about it. So I'm taking him.
Yeah, I'm also going to take Corby. It just feels like, Eric's team, maybe I'm biased because I played him week 1 and he scored like 95 points. Eric's big name players, right? He's got CeeDee Lamb, Najee Harris. They just feel underwhelming to me. T. Higgins had a decent game last week. Good for him. But I'm going to go with Corby. I think Derrick Henry's going to keep on rebounding. Deontay Johnson in that terrible Pittsburgh offense, I think they got to pick it up a bit, and he's going to start putting up numbers. Cortland Sutton looks like Russ's new DK. Give me Corby.
Eric, fear not. The coin is on your side.
Next up, we got me, Colin, taking on Taylor.
Thank you so much for letting me introduce the next matchup here. We've got Taylor versus Colin. Let's look at the matchup, break it down. We've got Kyler and Mac Jones versus Carson Wentz and Jared Goff, who have been red hot for 2 weeks. We've also got, oh my God, Colin's team is so fucking Jamar and Tyreek. Yeah, sorry, Taylor, I'm taking Colin.
Okay, thanks, Corby, for the intro there. I'm not sure what to say. I said it before. I'm not going to bet against myself until I'm at Fitzy's level, where it's just like pure depression. My team, nothing matters anymore. There's nothing I can do. So I'm going to take myself. I got a solid team. I've been the top scorer 2 weeks in a row. Let's make it 3, baby. Fitzy, what do you think?
So, Colin, first I'm going to say the coin is with you as well. So that's 3 on Colin, and I'm undecided. The projections are a bit off here because Taylor's waiting on getting a defense in at the time of recording. Colin, you're a first place team, but you've got a sneaky bit of competition here with Taylor. So I've only got one question for you. Do you have the guts to start Joe Flacco this week? Are you going to do it or not?
Who's he playing?
Cincinnati.
Oh, maybe. Probably not. No, I'm not going to. I'm sorry.
In that case, I'm sorry. I just have to take Taylor here.
Well, I can't believe they have Davis Mills projected more points than Joe Flacco.
Look at me. I'm on Taylor Island all of a sudden.
I should maybe pick Taylor just I'm having flashbacks of last year where I think he went 2-1 against me if you include playoffs. So I was really his bitch last year. So, but I'll take myself. This is my year. Sorry, Flacco. If you like him so bad, trade for him.
And then our final matchup here is a third straight Chris Bowl in Chris P and Chris Cloud. This is unprecedented. I'll keep this one simple. Just like any team that faces me is at an immediate advantage, any team facing Chris Cloud this year is at an immediate disadvantage. Chris Cloud is a powerhouse team, and I've just simply taken him here in week 3.
Yeah, he was another guy I think I had ranked in the top 3. He's having an awesome year. He's got a great team. If Matt Ryan, maybe he just needs Michael Pittman, but he absolutely looked like garbage last year. He doesn't have a third quarterback, so he's just stuck with Matt Ryan. So it's tough, but I'm not going to vote against Jonathan Taylor and Josh Allen and Mark Andrews. That positional advantage is just too strong. Give me Chris Cloud. Corby, what do you think?
I'm calling this Corby's matchup of the week. The Chris Bowl. Love this matchup. Colby Island. Oh, fuck. I fucked up. Sorry. Ignore this. Sorry. Okay. My matchup of the week is the Chris Bowl. We've got cousin versus cousin. Once again, 2 cousin matchups this week. We've got Chris Patnode versus Chris Cloud. Honestly, Chris Cloud's taking this one. I think Chris Cloud's got one of my favorite teams. Probably because Josh Allen, because he's just an absolute god right now. I don't think anyone can stop him. So yeah, taking Chris Cloud. Fuck you, Chris Patnode. Coming for you too, bitch.
And that is going to put the coin on Chris Patnode Island all alone.
So that's it for the matchups this week. Let's move on to a fan favorite, a host favorite. It's time for the bets of the week. So first, let's go over what the bets we made last week and how those turned out. So the first one up, Fitzy, the impassioned, he's a Flaccolite. an acolyte of Joe Flacco. That Flacco.
That's good. That's really good.
That was on the spot. He says, "Listen, Colin, you should got to start Joe Flacco because he's gonna do better than one of Goff or Wentz." And I said, "No way." Well, it turns out he did. Watching that game on Red Zone, and the Jets were pooping it up all game, and then I don't know what happened at the end. I was happy with my money. I was like, "Ooh yeah, $5." I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, the Jets scored a bunch of points, and Joe Flacco was slinging the rock. So Wentz still outscored him, but Goff in a I don't want to say a blowout, but it was a pretty comfortable lead, so they didn't need him slinging the rock too much.
And really, I'll say the letter of the bet was that he was going to outscore exactly one of your quarterbacks.
I know, I was going to say that too.
If he was QB1, you would have won that one. Jared Goff and Wentz finish within 3 points of each other, 26 and 29. That's a really narrow band for Joe Flacco to hit, and he slings it right into that open window, just like he was slinging it all Sunday.
Right. So I got 3 QB1s. So if anyone's short on QBs, I've got some of the best names in the league. All right. I got these guys in Davis Mills. So come to me.
Yeah.
What do we got next, Fitzy?
Well, next up, we got another number one position for you, and that's a tight end one. As you decided to bet me straight up Evan Ingram versus Kyle Pitts fantasy points, and I thought this was my free square. Kyle Pitts puts up 3.9 to Evan Ingram's 11.6, and Colin walks away with a smile on his face and $5 in his pocket.
It just feels so good to bet on someone and have it pay dividends. He nearly tripled Pitt's score. I think this is the second week in a row Pitts has scored 3.9. Meanwhile, Evan Ingram's arrow is just pointing up. I think he led the team in targets last week. Just a great player. He's a safety blanket. He's Mr. Money. I think he has 12 targets and he has 11 catches this year. So I don't know about you, but that catch rate, drops what? I'm telling you, that was Daniel Jones' greasy fingers greasing up the ball, making it hard to catch. Last bet we got Mecole Hardman versus MVS. Marquez versus MVS. Who's going to score more points? Fitzy brought this one up. I don't really have a dog in this fight, but I said, sure, I'm a betting man. Give me Mecole Hardman. And that's how it worked out. Neither of them did particularly well, but Hardman got 7.5 points to MVS's 3.3. So give me Hardman. That makes I got the advantage that last week I won 2 bets. Fitzy had 1. Fitzy, how did that go for you?
Hardman has like 43 yards. MVS is 7 targets. I'm thinking this is great. I checked the further stat, 7 targets for 2 catches for 13 yards. So much for what you said last week about him getting his on some deep bombs, huh? Man, oh man, not too happy with MVS starting at not flex but wide receiver for me. We'll see what happens next week.
So that brings us to some new bets. Fitzy, did you cook up anything for this week?
So Colin, I'm glad you asked. We're still, we're a couple weeks into the season, but it doesn't feel too late to make a couple of year-long bets. And to me, I'm looking at a fun one. A lot has been made in media these past couple of days of the top 3 passing yard leaders in the league being Tua at 739, Carson Wentz at 650, and Joe Flacco at 3rd, 616. I simply am going to ask you to pick a horse between Tua and Carson Wentz. Who's going to finish the year with more passing yards? What do you think?
That's a good one, but I think I have to go Tua. That feels definitely more sustainable with his pass catchers and their lack of ability to run, it seems. Although the Commanders have a really not great defense, and so they're probably going to be behind and slinging it a lot. But I'm going to go. I'm going to go Dolphins.
While Tua. I agree in the similar sentiment to what you had last week, I'm in a hole and I got to dig myself out. So I'm taking Carson Wentz, baby.
Great.
Lock it in. Rest of the year.
It's a genius move. Everyone always talking about the gambler's fallacy. When you keep losing, you got to win eventually, right? I'm not. What is some nerd statistician came up with that? Forget about that.
Yeah,
makes sense to me.
I don't like statisticians either, Colin.
So I enjoyed our tight end bet last week, Pitts versus Ingram. So I'm looking at another similar positional bet. I'm talking about pass catching running backs. My kink. I sure do love those little guys, those little shifty boys. That sounds awful. I'm looking at Naheem Hines and J.D. McKissick. I think that McKissick will outscore Hines. Full PPR. They love to catch the passes. What do you think, Fitzy?
I don't like to do this 2 in a row, but I agree. But I'm gonna roll with my guy Naeem.
Okay.
Give me the Heine.
Well, for context, he outscored McKissick in week 1. McKissick outscored him in week 2. It's a tiebreaker.
I don't understand how Indianapolis was down by 24 points and Naeem Hines only had 4 catches. That's my problem.
Right, especially when who are they throwing to?
Yeah.
Doolin or whatever that dude was.
Exactly why I'm afraid of this bet, but I'll make it anyway.
Yeah.
Now, Colin, for the next bet, I'm taking us down the passing yard leaderboard from Tua at 739 all the way to somebody with 191 yards. That's right. Justin Fields has thrown the ball 28 times this year. This is a week 3 bet. He's playing the Texans, and I bet that he goes over 20 this weekend.
Okay, I'll go under. Yeah, I'll go under. I feel like they're just going to be able to run all day against the Texans. So I'll take the Chicago 1920 Bears. What a crazy thing, huh? How many times does Flacco pass the ball? Like 115 or something?
103.
That's
103.
insane. Like 80 more passes. That's absolutely crazy. All right, so my last bet here. I like ones. These are kind of the ones I like. You know, when Corby gets back, I'll make some of him too. But I like the ones where like we're involved in the bet, like we're cheering, but then also because we're both in that. So here's my bet this week.
Okay, good.
It's a week bet. There's 2 conditions to this bet. It's one of those like parlay ones or whatever. Is that the right word?
Yep.
And I think both things will happen. And if either one doesn't happen, then you can win. Okay. Here's what I think. Okay. I'm going to be top 3 points scored this week, and I think you will not be in the bottom 3. What do you think?
I'll take the Pukey parlay. I'll say that I am going to be in the bottom 3, or you will be in the bottom 8 or 9. Yeah.
Yeah, the bottom 9. What do you think is more likely?
Don't ask me that question, Colin. Let's just take the bet and move on. All right.
Do you have any other bets, or is that all?
That's it. I had 2 this week.
All right, so that's it for bets of the week, which means that's it for this week's edition of the Why Do Boys Make podcast. I want to thank everyone for listening, and I've got a few favors to ask you all. First of all, there's a little thumbs up in the bottom left, if you see. It's called the like button, and I want you to hit it. Now, don't hit the thumbs down, because that's a dislike button. We want to see the thumbs go up, 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 up. Because the more thumbs we get, the more ads we can run. We finally got an ad this episode. We're trying to keep it going. Second of all, I want you to subscribe to the channel. We need the subs. The subs, we might have to open a Patreon soon if we want to keep this thing going. We don't want to resort to that. So subscribe to the channel. You'll get notified whenever there's new episodes, especially if you ring that bell. Ding, 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 ding. Fitz, you can add a bell there. Add a bell sound effect. No.
Yeah, you got it.
Ring that bell. And last of all, I want to ask you to comment. Let's get some feedback. Let's get some discussion. We want to keep an open forum in the comment section. Let's talk about this league. What's going on? What's going to happen? Some criticism. We'll take it all. That being said, I'm Colin.
I'm Fitzy.
And gamers,
Arrivederci.
also game on.